You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Patio Podcast. How we doing? How we doing? Indiana Fever took a loss last night. Minnesota Lynx 99, 88. And the Minnesota Lynx have shown me enough of how good a basketball team they are. Okay, now.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much what we talked about. That felt like playoff basketball. And that's what I just kept telling our players. That's who they are. They're a good veteran team. They came out in the third quarter and they got in our ass. And when they did, we didn't handle it very well. And then we let the officials rattle us as well. And that's growing and understanding. Like, if you just give a team like that a little bit, they'll take advantage of you.
This is when the science of the game comes into a factor. When you get beat by the same team, you played 80 minutes of basketball. Okay, so what does 80 minutes of basketball revert back to? I'll tell you what it does. You got the Minnesota Lynx, 25-9, 99 points, got 80 points in three quarters, and it's just getting a little bit ridiculous out there. I mean, they are a team that the Indiana Fever can't beat. Now, across the board, you look at their starting lineup. I mean, McBride played 19 minutes, had a little struggle. But you look at Williams. Williams, you know what? Here's the deal. Got me stuttering a little bit. But Williams is one of the best points guards in the WNBA. You talk about setting it up. You talking about running sets. You talking about a floor general. And you talk about knocking down big shots. I didn't see these guys play the Minnesota Lynx 80 minutes of basketball, okay? 80 minutes of basketball. I've watched the Indiana Fever play the Minnesota Lynx. And here's the deal. Minnesota Lynx are a better basketball team, okay, than the Indiana Fever. The Minnesota Lynx are a better basketball team than the Indiana Fever. Now, when you get a situation like this, let's get into coaching them up and let's get into what we got to do. And we're going to run this one a little differently because we're going to tell you how to beat the Lynx. Okay?
And that's what we did. But defensively, we've just been much better since the break. And, I mean, we gave up 80 points in three quarters. I mean, you don't give yourself a chance. And a lot of it, we just were watching a few clips. A lot of it was us. We weren't where we were supposed to be, just in like a five-man shell. Like, we weren't at the nail. We weren't in 2-9. We weren't in help. We weren't in gaps. We let them get by us and with dribble penetration too much. Our goal is to contest every single shot. We didn't get out on our closeouts and contest. And they're a great shooting team.
Okay, because this is something a little bit different, but let's go to the box and see how it all worked out. You get down to the Indiana Fever. Okay, Nia Smith went 1 of 7 off. Okay, there's no doubt about it. -5 got you 2 points. Okay, Boston played a great game, 9 of 15. Okay, Boston got you 5 rebounds, 2 assists, still came out -13, got you 20 points. Mitchell, 38 minutes, 7 of 19, 4 of 8, 5 of 5. Mitchell played a ton of minutes and still came out of -6. That's ahead of a game. So when everybody else went out, Mitchell kept the fire running. Lexi Holt, 31 minutes, 3 of 5. Got you 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. I mean, you're talking about somebody goes across the board. You lose the game right there by 11. She's checking in at 8. So, she's below the box, got you 8 points. Just couldn't get going. And then you got Caitlinclark goes 36, 8 of 21, 5 of 10, 4 of 4. Caitlin got you 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and got you 7 turnovers, came out 25 points. Throughout it all, -7, you lose again by 11. Okay, and then you go to the bench. Dantes comes in +3. Samuelson plays a little bit, -3, and then you got Fembeignet. That thumb, I saw it last night, kind of bothering her a little bit, but still got in there -7. You got Wheeler went in there 6 and came out -9, got you 5 points.
Go, Keem, then we'll go back to Christine.
Coach, throughout your win streak, you've had that kind of consistent contribution from another player like Nalissa or Temi or Lexi. Just how important is it to get that fourth contributor either as a starter or off the bench?
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. I think tonight we were playing okay, and then we got to that third quarter and got rattled, and I think we just tried to do it ourselves a lot instead of the way that we've been able to get out of those moments as of late when we've been able to stop people's runs. And we just let it snowball on us. And that's something that we've been better at and that we've got to make sure that we clean up, because this is someone we could possibly play. And just gave us a taste of what it feels like to that playoff basketball. So we just got to be ready for that, ready to stop those runs and not let just our emotions get the best of us.
I'll let you hear Christy's side, speak her mind, and then we're going to narrate that too. But here's the deal. You get the bench, okay? You get the bench. Here's the Indiana Fever. They come through. You got them assists across the board. The starters, you go to the bench. You got no activity. You get 19 assists. Now, you want to counteract that? Let's counteract that and see what the Minnesota Lynx did in assist total. Okay, they came out across the board. The starters got it, but they got 9 assists off the bench. 9 assists. They are what you call super efficient. They got you 7 steals last night, okay? And here's the deal. They shot it not good, okay? Not good, but if you watch them, it looks like they're knocking everything down under the sun. 33 of 73, 45%, 13 of 33, 32 from the three-point line, which is beautiful. I mean, that's what you want to have. And then you come back in there, you get 80% at the free throw line.
Christine, then we'll go Matt.
Christy, so in the third quarter, Caitlin is, revving up the crowd and whatever, but is clearly, and she said it too, getting, there's that line, right? And you didn't want to cross it. What do you say anything to her at that point? She came to the bench, obviously, for those last few minutes of the third quarter, and she then seemed to be fine as far as the fourth quarter emotionally, right? And just back in it. Is there a switch that you can kind of turn on and off, or how do you coach someone who is obviously the crowd is loving it, right? Yeah. But clearly you also don't want to have her get another technical foul or whatever. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's, she's just so passionate and so, she's just a hell of her competitive spirit is like, it reminds me of Diana Taurasi. She's that. And so when she is upset or mad, like that's what we've been working on, trying to figure out how to get past those moments. I was worried she was going to pick up a T in that third quarter, and thank goodness that she didn't. But that's growth, and she's got to learn that in those moments, I need my point guard to have a cool head, get us in whatever we need to be in offensively, and then if it's not a foul call that you thought, you got to get back. You got to get back and transition and help our team get stops. So, we're working on those things. That's what a young team. That's what you do, is you try to figure out, talk about these moments, watch them in video, show them where okay, this just can't happen because it caused this, and this. There's a reaction, to all of our actions, and we've got to make sure that we don't put ourselves in a worse spot with those kind of moments.
All right, so here's the deal that you got to realize: 16 fouls the Minnesota Lynx picked up, 22 fouls that got picked up on the actual Indiana Fever. So there's an up and down, but here's the deal, and I'm going to tell you why it's going this way. The Indiana Fever I've seen them play 80 minutes. Okay, I've seen enough.
Go down the line, Matt, Chloe, James, then Jacob.
Yeah, in the third quarter, coming out of half, Minnesota was forcing a lot of turnovers on the pick and roll.
Yes.
Just collapsing in that high action. From your viewpoint on the sidelines, were you just actively wanting to change that? Was it maybe just realizing a little bit too late that you needed to change something? What was kind of the game plan there?
No, I think there were some times probably when we go back and watch, we probably needed to execute something that was a little longer. We are second or first in the league in points in the paint, or I think third or fourth, but we tied Minnesota, who isn't very good at points in the paint. I think they're maybe 11 or 12. And so we have to take advantage of where we have the advantage. And I think there were times where we needed to just come down, execute, get a paint touch, and then play out of that. And we were taking some early shots that didn't go our way, and then long shots end up being long rebounds, which is hard to get back in transition defense.
I've seen enough that you can't play this way, and you're going to have to change your defense. And the Indiana Fever are going to have to switch. They're going to have to switch when they play these guys, and they're going to have to get an extra man in that rotation. Because if you give up any bit of that court to the Minnesota Lynx are going to attack you, and they're going to beat you, okay, and they're going to make you rotate 3 or 4 times. Now, when you get in your defensive rotations and when you play basketball and you get into it, you get a team that's got to rotate 3, 4 times, going to be a lot of confusion. Okay, so when you play a team like that, this is how you beat them, folks. You switch. You just switch everything, because once you switch, it takes away their advantage. That's the advantage they have. You run switch on them, you'll see it all the time in the NBA. Sometimes you can't just get through screens. You have to switch, and the bigs have got to get down in their box. They got to sit down in what you call the BUTT, the buttocks, sit in the chair, get down in defense, and you got to be ready to play man-to-man defense.
Straight, and I thought I got fouled a couple times there in the second half on mid-range jump shots. And I mean, it happens. Sometimes they get called, sometimes they don't. It is what it is. I think I settled a little bit too much for mid-range jump shots, but like I said, I felt I got bumped a little bit, and I was honestly trying to shot fake them to get them to foul me. But I mean, I think I could have done a little bit better job controlling my own emotions, but I think it just started bad for us and then continued to snowball, and that's something we have to control a little bit better. Not only did we not execute on the offensive end in the third quarter, but I thought they destroyed us offensively. Our defense wasn't very good, so I think just improving in that area and just all kind of gathering our emotions a little bit better and finding better shots. I thought we kind of stopped playing in a way that made us successful in the first half, so just a good learning opportunity for us. I feel like we could have played a lot better, but yeah, I mean, I think there's a line, and sometimes your passion and your emotion can get to you, but that's never something I would ever change or anybody on our team would change. So.
On the tape, but here's the deal: what I got going on. Christy Sides too buddy with the coaches in the WNBA. Christy Sides is too buddy with the coaches in the WNBA. She's got to change that. She's got to get back, and she's got to be who she is, and not necessarily give up so much praise, honor, and glory to the teams that you're trying to beat. Because the team and the fans, we don't care about the Minnesota Lynx. We just want you to beat them, and that's your job, Christy Sides, to jump in there and just flat out beat the Minnesota Lynx.
Go Chloe, then Christine.
Yeah, Caitlin, you mentioned, how everything started to snowball. Just what do you think you guys need to do to just stop the bleeding in that instance?
I mean, I think it starts defensively. I think get a stop. I mean, it's going to be hard to win a game when they outscore you by 17 points in a quarter. It's impressive that we got it back to 1 point. And honestly, I thought we played really good in the fourth, and my turnover in transition is what I felt like really kind of ended the momentum for us. I think it was 78-77. I got a block and a steal, and we were running in transition, and honestly made just a really bad read. I thought the girl was going to come over. She never ended up coming over. So I think defensively is where it has to start. Our first quarter defense was really good. Every quarter besides that was Third quarter was bad. So I think just continue to get better. But we had moments, especially to begin the fourth quarter too, that were a lot better than the other two.
Christy Sides got to realize, man, you're going to have to get in there. You have to fight for your team. Okay, in the WNBA, here's how it works, folks. You have to set a tone when you come out and play. The officials have no idea how either team's going to play the game. But if you set the tone, okay, and this is what the Indiana Fever got to do, is this is how we play. You could whistle us up now because nobody's really paying attention. But, man, oh, man, let me tell you something. You got to be able to dictate how your physicalness is going to be on the court. Now, Christy Sides is not doing that. She's still, but for the love of me, praising other teams and other coaches. You got to get to your team and not get to praising everybody else.
Christine, then Brad.
Yeah, going back to the fourth quarter, when you guys, the crowd was going absolutely crazy, as loud as I think I've heard it here, and you're hitting everything for both of you, Kelsey and Caitlin. Just can you describe that feeling as you're reeling them in and all of a sudden you're down by only 1 point?
Kelsey, you want to start?
I think it's a really amazing feeling when you're a competitor and you have, the city at your hands and feet and they supporting us, win, lose, or draw. It just makes you go harder. It makes you appreciate the moments a little bit more. I think as a group we appreciate the energy. It's unspoken, but we appreciate it. And we try to use that as fuel to kind of get the next stop or get the next one. I won't want any other way. I appreciate who our fans are and what they bring to the table for us. For real, it's appreciated.
Christy Sides, you should have about 5 technicals right now. You should have about 5 technicals, okay? You got to stand up for your team, Christy Sides. This is the problem, folks. You have to stand up for your team, and you got to set a tone, and you can't worry about trying to manage Caitlin. When something happens against Caitlin, you get out there, you walk on that court, you get banged for a technical. You speak your mind and let those officials know, because you got to put a little doubt in the officials' mind. Okay, if you're just going along, okay, then you ain't putting no doubt. You got to come out there. You got to get banged on a technical. Okay, and the reason you got to get banged on a technical because you got to let the coaches, other coaches know there's a problem. You got to let the officials know, and you got to let your players know you stand behind them, Christy Side. This soft pedaling is not going to win championships. Okay.
Go Brad, then we go Matt.
Kelsey, first quarter for you guys. What did you like about the start? Strong start, pretty much here. First quarter, first half.
Yeah, I think our start was pretty effective. I thought it was a high-paced game. I thought C-Square set us up from a PG standpoint to get us into that pace and play confidently in space, in pace. I mean, we were getting stops, too, and I think that helped. But I always say it, the minute we stop getting stops, you see Fever kind of like tank or, we kind of plummet. And I think that's our next maturation. I think playing a team like Minnesota, that is our gauge. That's our standard. And I think that we can get better from what you saw today based on those down the stretch, getting those stops and getting those next rebounds. We got to be better, and I think that's our next maturation defensively.
Okay, but Christy's size, you got a racehorse, a Ferrari, and you got to switch that defense. You got to switch. I've seen 80 minutes of basketball. I'm not praising the Minnesota Lynx. I'm not praising them. I'm not praising Cheryl Reeves. Cheryl Reeves, well, let me just tell you this. Cheryl Reeves is a darn good basketball coach, okay? Other things that I don't like about Cheryl Reeves, okay, that is what it is. You get her into 94 feet. She's slick like a can of oil that's going to sock it right to you and it's going to beat you and got you down to your possession, your rotations, everything you do. And she's got players that she's recruited that can shoot that basketball and pass that basketball, and they're all triple threat. What is triple threat? It's the oldest fundamental in the game of basketball. You could dribble, you could pass, or you could shoot. That's a triple threat player. That's what she got. She got 9, 10 players that are all face-up players, which means they all can play with the ball in their hands, and they all turn and face the basket. Old school basketball to me, but I got to counteract that. Okay.
We go Matt, then we go Michael.
Yeah, Kelsey being a veteran of this team, just what do you think you can learn the most from a loss like this? After 5 wins, then lose, but you still have a lot of games left to play.
I think that from a leadership standpoint, I think we held ourselves together as a group to say, shut up and work, lead the rest out of it, obviously, but get to the next play, get to the next action, get to the next set. Use this as fuel for our next game, and as a leader, you want to make sure that we kind of stay on a confidence and positive note. We've already seen what the results was tonight, so we use it, and then we go to the next page.
Because you got the Lynx, and this is the best losses. Folks, this is the best losses that the Indiana Fever could take right now, okay? Because you understand your team is not peaking. They're not at their peak yet. They're playing good, but they're not playing good enough when you got the aces coming in for 2. Okay, you got a fall-down game that you don't want to get tripped up on, but it can happen because when you play against a team, you can only raise the emotion so high. Christy Sides got to get back in her game, and Christy Sides got to step this up.
Last 2, Jacob, then we'll finish with Christine again.
Kelsey, you just mentioned you guys needing to take another step. Minnesota's one of the top teams, maybe a playoff matchup for you guys. Do you kind of view this as all as like a measuring stick of maybe a level you guys need to get to now?
Oh, definitely. I think that was just the conversation in our locker room amongst our vets like Timmy and Katie Lou. They definitely said that this is the standard, and we want to compete at that next level and be a part of a playoff run, not just getting there, not just being a part of it, but making a run and making an impact. We won't have to use this as leverage and know that, they're the best, and in order to beat the best, you got to compete every night, and I think we're going to use the film on a positive note and keep going forward.
Christine, last one.
Yeah, Caitlin, so the third quarter, as you were describing, it's intense, and you went to the bench for a couple of minutes. What are you doing mentally there to either calm down or get yourself back, fired up, to then have the fourth quarter that you had?
Yeah, I think just kind of reset. I think it felt from my standpoint that the third quarter kind of got away from us. Like I looked up the clock and there was only 2 minutes left on the clock, and I think we had scored 8 points. So I felt like we just continued to not really execute. So I think just like get a quick breather, knowing that I'm going to need myself and to find a way to have a big fourth quarter for us. And then I thought we came out and really responded in the fourth quarter. So I think that is a positive to take away, is we found a way to respond at the beginning of the fourth. And our last 3 minutes of the game wasn't great, but if we limit everything in the third, like we're in a really good position to be successful in the fourth. So I think I'm just happy our crowd, like they really got behind us and helped us. I don't know if we don't have them, we probably don't even get back into it. So it was a lot of fun to have them, but I think just kind of have a mental reset and get ready to play the fourth.
Switch. In the NBA, they switch. They players too good to go on the screens and try to chase around them. Okay, you got to start playing this game. You got a team, and I'll play this as simple as possible. You got a team that's built like an NBA team. You got a guard, you got shooting guards, you got a wing, you got a forward, you got a 3-and-D, okay, you got a 4 and you got a 5, okay, and you got action coming off the bench, and you can rotate the 3-post any way you want, okay. So basically, what do you got? You got 18 fouls to give, right? And you got to look at it, okay, how are we going to play this? Because the players that can switch, okay, because sometimes it's not going to come around, okay, to you being conventional. It's going to come around when you sneak a little small ball in there. You may have to go with defensive matchups and put a little bit more length. I mean, you got to switch it up. I've watched 80 minutes. If you give me 80 minutes of one team, I guarantee you this, that same team may beat me, but dog it, they're going to know they were in a dog fight, and we're going to get more physical, okay, because that's what you got to do with the Lynx. You got to get more physical, okay? That's what you got to do with the Aces. You got to get more physical. You got to get that with the Connecticut Sun. You got to get more physical, okay? That's what you got to do. This is not softball. This is the WNBA, and
We go Michael, then we go Jacob on the right again.
Yeah, Caitlin, this is the only team you guys have lost to, is Minnesota. Obviously, they're one of the top teams. Are there things maybe you've learned specifically from playing this team in these 2 games that you guys can help you going forward?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think they're the hardest team in the league to guard, probably. I think their movement is incredible. The way they play is incredible. It's how basketball should be played. I think our matchup is so good for our matchup is just great for basketball too. Like, if you want to watch 2 teams that play basketball the right way, it's this. Play up tempo, you share the ball. It's not sets all the time. Like, they run great action, they run great ball screen stuff, they space the floor, all 5 of them can shoot at all times. It's hard to guard, especially when they're running clear side pick and roll with Fee. Like, she demands so much attention, and then you're stunting at you're guarding 3 or 4, you're guarding 3 3-point shooters with 2 people. Like, there's only so much you can do, and Carleton makes us pay, especially there late, and we're closing out to her, doing our best. So I think for us, it's just you got to play a step ahead. You know what they're going to do. You got to be over there earlier.
I'll tell you something here, folks. You look at this, and you look at how they play the game, okay? And I watch them how they play the game because I always try to see it, and I want to see, okay, what are they exactly doing, and how are they doing it? And how are they making all this come together? Because it's wild as ever, right? It gets wild out there, right? So when you look at it and you see it, I'll show it to you from both ways. Here's the Minnesota Lynx. They got Boston with the ball. You got Caitlin coming off. And here's the deal with when you get to the Lynx and everything and you're going to work your rotation. Let me tell you what you got, folks. You got to always, it's good to see the Fever on the left side of the floor because you got to work the left side. I think the Fever are too heavy on the right side, and the defensive rotations become too easy. Okay, so you got something simple here, and you come off of this, and the play just runs itself, right? So here's what you got. You got Caitlin coming off. She's going to get the shot. Okay, that's good stuff. But look at the Minnesota Lynx and how they got the rotation. You got Williams is saying, there's no way I can get there. You got a player running and chasing right here when they should have switched. And you got them. This is the same problem. You could beat them the same way they beat you. You got right here, okay? I want to break this down. Kelsey Mitchell can't see the basketball, okay? You gotta see this. You got Timmy. Timmy's supposed to be up top, but she's not there. And then you got Katie Lou Samuelson out of position. I have no idea how you got to this stage, right? So when you get here, you got to know you got to do something, right? You can't just let it just develop itself. Okay, so now you got Williams. So guess what? You got Boston just jumping out, trying to catch this play, right? The Fever are way out of position on that. If you did anything, Timmy should have jumped over and took the second, but it's not quick enough. Mitchell could have jumped over, and if Mitchell would have jumped and took Williams, okay, Boston could have set out. Katie Lou could have refilled back in the post. But this is the Fever problem right here, folks. So you want to know why the Fever are losing games? I can tell you why the Fever are losing games. Fever are losing games right there. You can't come out and cover.
Williams launches and hits a 3.
Now, if you look at this, okay, you got Mitchell at the top, slide down. You got Boston. You got to cut that baseline no matter what. Boston, you got to cut that baseline. Okay, so when you get here, Boston don't cut this baseline, and Katie Lou's got to come, and everybody's all out of position. Boston has to cut that baseline. The player keeps going. They're going to skip that thing across. Now you got Katie Lou's trying to come over and cut it. Okay, so now Caitlin's got to slide back in. okay, jump Carrington. You got a lot of movement, and you got a player sitting over the wing. Nobody's protected to take that player. So the only one that could really get there would be Caitlin-Clark, but it's way too late. Okay, so when you get this thing coming off here, and you get the play, look at that. That's just wide open. Okay, that's wide open. That's not shot through. Okay, here we go. Katie Lou's got to know where the ball is, and you got to cut this screen off. You got to cut it, Alyssa Smith. You got to cut this screen they're going to get. Okay, you got to cut it off. You got to get between the screener and the player. If you don't get between the screener and the player, here's what you got, folks. You got to switch. You got to switch. There's no way you could do it this way. You got to switch. If you're not going to get through and cut that screen off and hold off that screen, then you got to go switch that off because here's the action you get. Okay, Boston, you're off. You guys got to be off, giving my triangle on the key. Okay, this thing's going to roll. Here we go. Okay, Boston, you got to be off. You got to see it. Okay, you got to see it. Your weak side, you're going to come get this. Okay, there it is. You got to see it. Okay, Boston, you got to come off. You come off, we make the play. Okay, this is what I'm talking about here, folks. This is the mistake. Now, you're saying that you're having another player rotate, so Boston, you got to rotate up. Here we go. This gets tricky.
Not here tonight.
When they send it over there, Boston goes and takes the player on the cut. Okay, so now we got Katie Lou trying to guard two people. Impossible. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast, and we are powered up by Fanatics. We got to switch. The Indiana Fever got to switch on defense. Because here you go. They're going to try to make this and get out there, but there ain't
Smith
nothing to
extra
make.
pass. Carlton. Big shot.
There's no doubt about it, but how much battling you can do. I've seen 80 minutes, folks. I've seen 80 minutes. I've seen Christy Side worship every winning coach in the WNBA. How about you start going over there and you start getting technical fouls when your players are complaining to the referee? You said, let me get the technicals, but you're not doing it. And I'll tell you this, folks, every NBA coach coaches in the WNBA. I don't care if it's Steve Kerr. I don't care if it's J.J. Redick. They're going to get a lot of technicals. You know why? Because they got to protect their team and the players, and the WNBA officials, man, they are running wild. I think there's some favoritism for the Minnesota Lynx, because every time I watch them play, they don't get the calls, but the Lynx get to play extremely aggressive. That's the tone. They set the tone, so the officials follow it. And I think that's what the Indiana Fever need to do, is set a tone. Folks, this is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. I watched the Minnesota Lynx. 99-88, I've seen them play the Indiana Fever for 80 minutes. I got 80 minutes of film, and I can tell you flat out, the Indiana Fever, if they play the Minnesota Lynx in the playoffs, you have to switch. You got to switch. You can't run the same defense. And you might as well start working the left side of the floor, because they got the right side just timed out, and they're going to the spots that you're trying to get. They're getting to your spots before you do, because they have watched film and know where you're going. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. It took me a moment to digest, settle down, and watch the Lynx, but the Lynx are good. I'll tell you this, they're good. There's no doubt about it.